Hey guys, welcome to another episode of ASU Connections. I'm Jennie. I am a second year criminal justice and psych major and a comp sci minor, and I'm from Central Jersey. And so today, since we're talking about hobbies, one of the two hobbies I have is, I guess, dancing and also arts and crafts.
Hi everyone, I'm Will. I'm a third year bioengineering major from Western Mass. And I have a couple different hobbies and interests, but my main one is like music and like music production, things like that.
Yeah, so today, I guess our main topic is going to be about hobbies. So we want to know, we want to talk about, what gets people into hobbies and how long have you been doing them before this hobby, I guess, becomes like a legit passion. So, Will, you said you liked music. What got you into music?
Um, that so I guess when I was younger, my dad played a lot of music for me, and got me into like different older bands and singers and stuff. So I really appreciated that. And then through that, I kind of got interested in learning different instruments and playing in the school band. And then more recently, it came to like music production, and I kind of realized like that it's not that difficult to do a lot of like song making and stuff like that at home. So I've been getting into that, and it's kind of like a long term hobby. But yeah.
Are there any like new pieces that you've been working on recently?
Um, I've been kind of busy with school, so unfortunately I haven't had a lot
Yeah.
of time. But I've been working on some new stuff, some lo-fi instrumentals type of things. So
Oh, I
maybe
guess that's
that'll come
another thing.
around.
I guess that's another thing too. Like, how do people manage like their hobbies with like other work that they have to do, which is like quote
Mhm.
unquote more mandatory?
Yeah,
So,
that's tough.
I guess for me, I said one of mine is like dancing, right? Well, I've never been like, I guess I wouldn't say I'm good at it. I just like doing it because like back home, I had a friend that was like really good at it, and plus I really liked K-pop. So I would just like mimic the K-pop dances, and it's like a pain to like slow down a YouTube video. Like learning 5 seconds of the dance takes like 30 minutes. And I don't know, I just find it like really fun and exciting when you hear like a music and you're able to just like move with it. So even
Mhm.
though I'm not good, it's still fun. But I guess another thing is like um, we were talking about like motivating you to continue a hobby. Like, is there ever a
Mhm.
point where like you suddenly feel like you don't really like doing it anymore?
Hmm.
Or have you always just like, oh, I like always had this huge passion and I want to continue?
Um, yeah, I think there's been a couple of times where I've like, actually, I don't know. I don't think I've ever like really lost interest.
Yeah.
But it can be like frustrating sometimes if like, I don't know, for music when you're like making something and you like listen to it later, or if you're making it and it's not turning out how you want it to, it can be kind of frustrating to like stay motivated with it. But for
Yeah.
me, it's that's never like led to anything that made me want to like stop completely. But what
I
about you?
think for me, I think it like goes through phases. It also depends on like how much work or like what else is going on in my life. And like I guess like when I use like dancing as an outlet, I still have the passion, but sometimes when I get like too serious about it, suddenly I just like if I treat it like it's supposed to be work, then I'm not as excited to do it. I don't know if that makes any sense. So
Hmm.
like do you treat music like work or do you treat something that's like a relaxing period that you go to?
Mm, um, that's good. That's another good question. I I think it's work. I mean, it's there's a lot of things that are like difficult about it, and it takes like
Yeah.
time and effort to make things. Um, but it's like for me, it's like rewarding work, you know.
Yeah.
And I think schoolwork can be rewarding too in like a much longer term sense. Um, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Sometimes it's like you do all these homeworks and tests and quizzes, and maybe you get a good grade back, but it's not like anything really rewarding. You're not like super crazy about it. I don't know, that's just me. That's my personal opinion. But with music, it's like because the reward of like making something that you do really like is so like rewarding. That kind of keeps me
Yeah, like the reward is
keeps me
like
going.
greater than the work that you put in the process.
Yeah, yeah,
So it
definitely.
makes it feel good.
Hmm.
Yeah, I feel like that's the same for me. It's just like I like putting in the work to like get somewhere, but then sometimes I feel like stuck or I'm not improving. And when I feel like I'm not improving, that's when it actually feels like work and like the not the good work. I'm
Yeah.
just repeating words at this point, but
No, I
I
get
don't
you.
know.
Yeah, I
Like
get that.
I think it's good that you've always like stayed on track with like your hobby. And then for me, I feel like there's been a couple moments where I've been like, is this so fun for me or I'm just doing it just cuz I'm supposed to do it or I'm expected to do it?
Hmm.
But what makes like a difference between like I feel like a hobby is very long term. Like what makes a difference between like a hobby or like an activity you enjoy? So
Hmm.
like an example like that we were like talking about is like someone who likes to cook or someone who considers like cooking like a legit hobby. Like
Hmm.
what is exactly the difference you think? Or for you like what's like someone that likes music or treats music like a hobby?
Hmm. Um.
It's a hard question.
Yes. I think. Well, okay. I'll go back to the cooking example for a second.
Yeah.
Um. I'm definitely the type of person that enjoys cooking, and I like eating too, so it makes sense. But I
Eating
don't
is
consider myself to be like good at cooking. You know,
yeah.
like
So like is a hobby like something you have to be good at?
hmm, not necessarily. I don't think. Um, but I guess when I cook, I'm not really trying to like impress anyone or do anything like crazy. It's more just because it's like fun to do. So I
Yeah.
guess does a hobby, because I guess people, I feel like for me at least, people with hobbies like they make like art or like
Mhm.
something, and they like to like show people or like have it for their own like personal use, but like and like same with like people who like do cooking as a hobby, right? Like a lot of people who really enjoy cooking, I feel like if that's their hobby, they have like an Instagram and they like make food for people a lot. So
Yeah.
but I don't know, I guess does a hobby necessarily have to be something that you like share with somebody and outwardly express that you do, or is it can cooking be another hobby for me just because I do it and I enjoy it?
I don't know. I feel like sound like doing something you like. Like if you like to cook, it's more like casual. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
a hobby, it's like fun for you, but it's also like serious for you. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense. So like a part of it could be like, oh, I want to share like my work with the world to show
Mm-hmm.
like I'm serious. But I don't think sharing necessarily has to. Well, personally, I don't think sharing necessarily has to be a hobby trait. Although I do see it as like a lot of people who do have a specific hobby do show it like to some extent,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is very interesting actually.
That's
So
true.
like which brings like you mentioned really, something really interesting like sharing hobby. What about like trying to make money out of your hobby? Like do you think that's a good idea? Like making it a business or a career?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, if it's a hobby and you like enjoy it and you kind of want to spend time doing the activity like outside of like other work for like another career or for school or something like that, I think that's a good thing. And if you can turn that into like some sort of revenue, um, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I think that's good. That'd be good because then you'd be working on and doing work, but you'd be enjoying it more than potentially more than like your maybe 9 to 5 job or something. But I think there's something also to be said about um, when your hobby, that's something that you like enjoy casually, like becomes a lot of work. It might be less enjoyable. But what do you think?
Yeah. Like I was like cuz I feel like if you try to make money out of hobby, like what if you get wiped out? Like as we was mentioning before, like is there ever any point where you're like, "Oh, I don't like this hobby anymore." And then like what should you do after you make it into like an entire business or an entire career?
Yeah.
Or I guess like if you never get wiped out, it's good. But like my psych major brain is like coming in where like we learned in psych where like intrinsic motivation to do something that you like is like you want to do it for your own personal gain. But then when you add extrinsic motivation, which is like money to it, suddenly you're like personally less motivated to do it. So you might not find as much enjoyment or excitement doing like a hobby that you previously did if you were just doing it for personal gain. I don't know if
Mm.
that made any sense at all.
No,
But
yeah.
that's what I'm like worried about. Like I think it sounds for me, I think it sounds really nice. Like if you can turn something like a hobby into an entire career. So
Mm.
like you'll enjoy doing your career for like the rest of your life. But what if like there's at some point where like because you're less motivated to do it, you don't enjoy it anymore. Like what then?
Mm. That's a good point. I don't know. I
Do
feel
you
like
think do you think you could like if you had the opportunity to, would you make music your career?
if I had the opportunity and there was like a no risk situation, I
Mm-hmm.
think I would. I mean, I think, you know, if I'm, I think for me personally, if I'm going to put like so much effort into one thing, to make it a career, I want to
Mm-hmm.
definitely like enjoy it as much as I can. But at the same time, I have kind of thought of that hypothetical of like, oh, what if like, if that did happen, you know,
Yeah.
what if I did get burnt out or didn't enjoy it as much? That, you know, that's a tough question. I think in general, like it kind of speaks to, you know, I think some people think about like everyone has like hopes and dreams and goals and all that, but sometimes if they're like
Yeah.
realized like super quickly or like you get to your goal and you realize it's not what you thought it would be, um,
Yeah.
what do you do? You know, that's a tough question.
Yeah. Like, is one of the like you mentioned like if there was no risks aside,
Mm,
like is something that's standing in your way of making because I think everyone wants to make their hobby into like everyone wants to do something they like as a job, right?
yeah.
So it's like the thing that's standing inside your way is like there are risks to making music as a career.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of people who want to make music as a career and who really put like all their time and energy into it. And I respect that a lot. But for me,
Mm-hmm.
it's just, you know, it's obviously music and like arts in general aren't known to be very stable careers. And like the job placement isn't like exactly guaranteed,
Yeah.
which is not a problem. And if it's not, you know, if it's something that you're like positive you want to do, even if you don't end up like making it, um, then, you know, who's gonna like who should stop you from that? Like no one should stand in the way of that if you're so determined. But for me,
Yes,
it's
dreamer
like
boys continue.
yeah, exactly. But for me, it's like, you know, if I had the opportunity, I would take it. But at the same time, because there's like I don't want to have to like struggle for
Yeah.
just like in general, like in life, just
Yeah.
because like that's a hard thing to do and to kind of accept, you know.
So I guess like
But
a career should just be more stable, and as long as you like have something else that you like to do, it's like it's okay as long as you can still do it. Maybe not as like a full ass career. Oh,
yeah,
please, Brendan, cut that out. No cursing. We're wholesome. Um, but yeah. So now I guess like another thing I was like wondering about is like now that COVID has happened, how has that affected like your previous hobbies you've had?
mm,
Like, did you gain any new ones since that everyone's been stuck at home, or like did you like use all the time to like build on your hobby, or like how did
yeah.
COVID affect it?
I definitely was interested in music way before COVID happened.
Mm-hmm.
So then when the pandemic started and everyone no one could like, you know, go out or socialize, it was like I tried to use it as an opportunity to, you know, get better at making music and make more of it. Um,
Yeah.
and I think too that something that I observed that was interesting was that people who had existing hobbies or were starting new hobbies were also sharing it a lot more, kind of related to what we said
Yeah.
before. And a lot of people came out with like, I don't know, I feel like you just saw a lot more, like on TikTok. You saw a lot more like content related to people's
TikTok.
hobbies and like learning about cooking and music and all these different activities. And then
Yeah.
people, even people that we know, making new like Instagram accounts or whatever, and like sharing things. And I thought it was really cool and like interesting to see like people. It was like normalized, or like almost
Yeah.
normalized, to like make your hobby more like a whole persona on its own,
Yeah, I
online.
feel like
And people did that before, but like it seemed like they were doing it more, which was cool.
yeah, I feel like with COVID, like I definitely saw like most people like gained one or two more hobbies, and then they like I remember like for me on Instagram, like when you scroll through the stories, it's just everyone like doing like completely different things, and then people like joke around like you have way too much time on your hands, but
Hmm.
like I don't know, I think it's like a good thing that like people are like trying new things or like sharing things that they used to do
Yeah.
that they never shared with the world before. But
Hmm.
since you mentioned TikTok, this is a funny question. Is TikTok a hobby? Is making TikTok videos considered a hobby now?
I think it can be. I
I
mean, I think so. You're making something, and people are, like it takes effort, and it's like if it's fun for you, it can be a hobby. Sure.
no hate to TikTokers, but I refuse to get the app because I personally know I'm gonna fall into that deep rabbit hole and I just
Yeah.
don't want to. Do you have TikTok?
I do not. I feel like I'm in the same mindset of like I don't want to say that other people who have the app are like doing something wrong, but I know I would spend way too much time on it, and I can't afford that.
Yeah, yeah. Have you picked up like any hobbies since COVID, or did you just like kind of build in music,
Um,
or like any new like I guess it doesn't have to be a hobby specifically, but like we mentioned before, anything like any new activities that you started to like try out or enjoy.
Not really. I mean, I feel like if I like went back in time and like looked at what I did on a day to day basis before
Mm-hmm.
COVID versus now, it'd be different. But I can't really think of any one particular activity um, that I'm doing because I had more time on my hands. But what about you?
Did you like did you like join like the baking trend? Like when everyone baked like banana breads or like made like the coffee? Because I joined it.
I did do the what is it called, dalgona coffee?
Yeah, I don't know how to
Yeah,
correctly pronounce it, but
no, me neither. But that was
I
good. I
bought
mean,
an
I enjoyed
entire
that.
whisk for it.
Yeah,
Did you
but I know
like
I
it though?
never. It was pretty good. I liked it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um,
Were you successful the first time around?
yes, but it took a lot longer than I thought it would. All those whisks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you? Oh, you actually had a whisk. Did you like hand whisk it?
Yep.
This is so off topic now, but I just find it so amusing. But I tried making it. I don't know why I tried making it like four times, and after like the first time, I bought a whisk, and then it still took the same amount of time, and
What
then I
did you
felt like I
use
was
the
cheating.
first time instead of a
A
whisk?
spoon.
A spoon?
I was like, I put up an
Oh,
entire like Netflix show, and I was just like in the kitchen, and my mom walked in. She's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm trying to make this trend that everyone's doing." And
that's
then
funny.
like, yeah, like I definitely joined like the baking trend during like COVID. Like I started making a bunch of breads and cakes, and like our
Oh yeah.
family doesn't really like sweets, so it just kept building in the fridge. But they wanted to like encourage me that I was doing something with my life. So they just kept like allowing me to do it, but no one would eat it and they would just pretend that they liked it and it just built in the fridge. And then I would have like three breads and like three cakes by the end of the week, and then I'm like looking at the fridge like what did I do?
That's funny. Did you
But
make like sourdough? I feel like a lot of people made sourdough bread.
sourdough? People made sourdough? I've never heard of
Yeah.
this.
Really? Oh, I feel
I
like
feel
there was at
so
least three
old.
people I know. They're like,
Really?
I made sourdough bread, and they
Like
always like,
just bread?
yeah, and they'd like cut into it, and like that cross section shot of like the whole loaf. I saw that all the time, especially when like the pandemic just started. It was pretty funny.
Really?
Yeah.
One random thing I tried to do during the pandemic was I tried to be able to do a split. Not a hobby at all, but I literally spent like a good hour of my life every single day just trying to stretch, trying to do a split, and I failed. But
Um.
I mean, the things you do during COVID.
I mean, you
Um,
tried.
yeah,
That's good.
I guess I did try. I also did like going back to hobbies. Like I did try to like build on dance, cause like since I had like so much time on my hands, I literally would spend the entire day just like trying to learn a new dance and like film it.
Mm.
And then I would send it to like my dancer friends for like critique, and they're just like, "Sir, why are you moving like that?" And I'm like, "I don't know how to move like the people in the video are moving." But I mean, we try. In terms of music, though, Will,
Hmm.
anything coming up?
Oh, um,
This is your chance for self promo. You know, you gotta take it for all the viewers.
yeah, yeah. I'm working on some stuff. Taking my time though. I want to invest the time to make sure it's a highest quality product that I am capable of right now.
Hmm.
But I'm always working on stuff. So
Do you have like a specific vision you're going for?
um, yeah. I mean, I'd like to. Hmm.
Like, what's the process of you making like the music that you want to make? I know nothing about music, so if I sound dumb, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
My knowledge is like at zero.
I mean, I don't know much either, so it's all good.
What do you mean?
Um, Process of making music, it kind of varies. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I'll like sit down in front of my like computer or whatever and like make like some sort of instrumental. Um, and then I'll like potentially have like a melody or something to go along with it. And then sometimes I like think of the melody after or like beforehand, and then like make the song around it. So,
Do you
but it
like
depends.
Are you like in the shower and you suddenly have an idea and you like run to the your instruments or like your computer and like play it out?
Usually if I have an idea at any random moment, I'll like um record a voice memo
Ah.
and like either like talk about it or like sing my little melody, and
Mhm.
then I'll go back to it later
Mhm.
and try to work with it. But I have like hundreds of voice memos that some of them I've never like used before, but they're there.
What's your favorite instrument?
Um,
Or like which one are you most comfortable in, I guess?
Probably like the drum set. That was like my
The
first
drums?
instrument. Yeah,
Whoa.
so I played the drums, and I feel like I'm most comfortable there. But when I started playing instruments that like actually have like notes like with like guitars and pianos and stuff. I started
Mhm.
playing the bass, so I feel like guitar and bass, or
Oh.
sorry, drums and bass are like my big comfortable instruments. Yeah.
Did you learn them yourselves?
Um, Drums. I was in the school band and I played percussion,
Uh-huh.
and then I started taking
Oh.
like lessons. I finally got my parents to get me to take lessons for the drum
Oh.
set.
Yeah.
But then for the bass, I kind of knew I wanted to learn another instrument. Um, but I didn't have like I didn't want to ask my parents to like uh, pay for more lessons for that because those aren't cheap.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
saved up, bought it like a bass from like a thrift shop or
Oh damn.
something, and then I learned from YouTube videos.
Oh damn. Wow. You know, the funny thing is, I used to play percussion too in middle
Really?
school.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wait, in
I,
middle school, you said?
yeah. Well, like in high school, if you wanted to like continue, it would like be considered a class. And like I didn't have the space for it,
Mm.
or like that was my excuse. So like I didn't like I played like any other Asian, I played the violin, but I also played the drums, which is kind of funny. But I just played like the snare drum, and because no one knew how to do like melody wise, like I was in charge of like the keyboard and stuff like that.
Oh.
But I always wanted to like really learn how to play the drum set, but you know, like in a band, you just kind of just like play the snare drum or like the bass and stuff.
Mm.
So I never got the chance.
Mm.
But I think
Yeah.
that's really funny that it used to be something that I tried to do.
Did you
But
like it? I mean, obviously you didn't continue in high school, so maybe you didn't like it that
I
much.
liked it, but I guess like the difference between like something you like to do and a hobby is like I wasn't like passionate about it. Like I think I thought it was more fun than violin actually, and I think I
Mm.
was probably well I thought I was better than in a violin because I am like so tone deaf and pitch deaf, but um I don't know. I guess I wasn't like it didn't like motivate me enough to continue in high school. So I guess that's like the big difference between it was like something I like to do, but I wouldn't consider it a hobby.
Mm.
Whereas some of the other stuff that I do now, I consider more as a hobby. Or like another thing that I never really talked about is like arts and crafts. Like I think that's like an even longer hobby for me than dance because
Really?
um, like since I was like in elementary school, I really like doing like origami.
Mm.
And then my mom taught me how to knit. So I would just like knit literally. Like I didn't know any other design except for knitting like squares or rectangles. So I would just spend like all day like knitting like really long rectangles and then call it a scarf and like call it a day. And then
Hmm.
like afterwards, like I taught myself crochet, which everyone, whenever I say crochet, someone always like, "Wow, you play the sport croquet?" And I'm like, "No, I'm like just sitting there with a needle and yarn." Um, but yeah, and then I think those are the things that I feel like I'm good at and I like doing. There was one phase where I like origami, like like the 3D pieces, like the 3D like origami swans or whatever, like where like they have a bunch of small triangle pieces and you have to put it all together.
No, I don't think I've heard of that.
Oh, well, it's like the best way to describe it is like you have a bunch of like strips of paper and it's like small triangle pieces and you keep building it into like different things. And then it takes like a long time solely because there's so many pieces. So like I made like everyone that came to my sweet 16 like origami cranes and there was like each crane took like I think it was like 400 pieces or something like that. So I spent like a month
Whoa.
doing it and I clearly did not do well in school because I was too focused doing origami and I would just like stay up at night all night just like doing it and watching shows.
Huh.
So, very intense hobby. I like
That's
doing
pretty
it, but would
intense.
not recommend going that extreme, guys. Do not follow. But um I think should we end it here? Do you want to is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I'm good to end it here. I feel like we've been going for a little while, so yeah.
We people are done listening to us rant about our hobbies. But thank you guys for listening, I guess.
Yeah,
We
thanks
shall
for
sign off
sticking with
now.
us. Yeah.
Yes. I
Cool.
hope you found us interesting, maybe not funny. I don't know. I think Will is funny. Um, and
Okay.
thank you guys so much. And stay tuned for our next episode for whoever it's going to be.
Yep. Thank
Bye.
you so much, guys. Bye.